Well, hello. Welcome to Friday night's edition of Bedtime Stories with me, Pastor Michelle. So let's start out with the woman of the day before we get started. And I will say that I hope you all had a wonderful week. And I know today is July 3rd, so that means that Hamilton came out today. So I do hope you all had a chance to watch it. Anyway, today's woman is Diane Fossey. So, Diane, here she is. All right, I know it's backwards. I still haven't figured out how to change that when you're making a video, because I'm not doing this live, obviously. So, all right, so let's hear about Diane, or Diane. Well, let's just say Diane. She was born in San Francisco in 1932. She loved animals from a young age and started horse riding lessons when she was 6. She became an excellent writer and an even better student. In college, she started studying business, but then decided to become a pre-vet student before training as an occupational therapist. She worked at a children's hospital, but her love of animals continued as she lived on a farm, helping to care for the animals there. Diane longed to travel to Africa, so she carefully saved her money for a trip around the continent. Excited and intrigued, she traveled up into the mountains of Uganda, where she got her first glimpse of wild gorillas. Her life was changed forever. Back in the U.S., she worked hard for many years, planning and earning money to return to Africa. Then she got a job leading a study on mountain gorillas, first in Zaire and later in Rwanda. Quietly and patiently, she waited and watched. She began to understand the gorillas and copied their behaviors, like walking on her knuckles and chewing on celery, so they would trust her. She befriended several groups of gorillas using their individual nose prints to tell them apart. She spent years watching them and making careful notes. Because of films like King Kong, people wrongly believed that gorillas were vicious, but she was determined to make the world see how gentle these beautiful animals were. In the thousands of hours she spent watching them, she saw less than 5 minutes of aggressive behavior, none of it toward humans. Although she knew a lot about gorillas already, she wanted to learn more, and so she completed a PhD in animal behavior at Cambridge University in England, earning greater respect and more money for her research. But the gorillas were in great danger. Their population had dropped to just 254 in mid-1980s. She was desperate to learn all she could about them and even more desperate to stop them from vanishing. She worried about the dangers gorillas faced from poachers, people who hunted illegally in national parks. Because although gorillas weren't usually the real targets, they often got tangled in traps set for other animals. She believed in active conservation, forming anti-poaching patrols, wearing masks to scare off poachers, and spray painting cattle to stop herders bringing them into the national park and damaging the gorilla's habitat. These actions made her unpopular with the locals, but she carried on. She cared for all the gorillas she studied, but her favorite was Diggit, who became her very close friend. Then tragedy struck. Diggit was brutally killed by poachers as he tried to defend his family. Diane was heartbroken, furious, and determined to do something. She wrote a book called Gorillas in the Mist, which was later made into a film to raise awareness of the plight of the gorillas. Then, just like Digit before her own life was cut terribly short. In her hut in Rwanda, Diane was murdered. No one knows exactly who killed her or why. She was buried next to Digit. Diane's work with the mountain gorillas of Africa changed the way the world saw these amazing creatures. Her work has led to great conservation efforts, and although their future remains uncertain, the mountain gorilla population is now slowly increasing. Sadly, Diane did not live to see the brink of extinction, but by 2012, sorry, I was just saying something, there were believed to be 880 gorillas in the wild, nearly 4 times the number left when she was still alive, with 24 new babies born in 2015. This is almost entirely due to the efforts of Diane, the gorilla's greatest protector and friend. And there she is. Perhaps that's Digit. Or, well, maybe. And there she is right there. She's quoted by saying, "I feel more comfortable with gorillas and people." There is Diane right there playing with the baby gorilla. The more you learn about the diversity, the dignity of the gorilla, the more you want to avoid people. And the man who kills the animals today is the man who kills the people who get in his way tomorrow. And so there you have it, my friends. So our woman of the day. And so tomorrow our woman will be Valentina Tereshko. Okay. Tereshkova. All right. She was the first woman to travel in space. Can't pronounce her name. All right. So today's July 3rd. So let's hear our story of the night. And it's from The Incredibles. And so, a super summer barbecue, which barbecues are always a good thing, right? One hot summer afternoon, Helen Parr stood in the kitchen frosting a cake. It was almost time to leave for the neighborhood barbecue. "Hey, Mom," said Helen's elder son Dash, running into the room at super speed. "Why do we have to go to some silly barbecue?" "Dashell Robert Parr, we're lucky to have been invited. You know when we're doing our best to fit in here. And remember, no superpowers outside the house." A little while later, the Parrs walked around the block to their first neighborhood party. Dash watched some children compete in a sack race, but he couldn't join in because it might reveal his super speed. "Are you too chicken to play?" a boy teased. Dash scowled. When the mean boy hopped by the young super, he mysteriously tripped and fell. Dash smiled to himself and brushed off his sneaker. His speed had come in handy after all. Meanwhile, out of the corner of her eye, Helen saw Jack Jack atop a high brick wall. He was about to topple off. In a flash, she shot her arm all the way across the yard and caught him. She sighed with relief and cuddled Jack Jack. The other women just rubbed their eyes and mumbled something about not sleeping much the night before. As the day wore on, Helen saw the neighbors enjoying her cake. She looked around the yard and spotted Dash telling a story to some other kids. Violet was eating an ice cream cone with a girl her age. "Wow, it looks like we really fit in here," Helen thought. But then she overheard the neighbors. "There's something strange about those Parrs," one of the neighbors said. Had someone discovered them? Were their superpowers about to be revealed? "That may be true," someone else added, "but that Helen sure makes a terrific cake." Everyone agreed, and the conversation ended. Helen Parr chuckled to herself. Their cover wasn't blown after all. Maybe they were a little strange compared to the average family, but they were doing their best to act normal. And so there's our story tonight. And so, my friends, I hope you all have a wonderful night and sleep well. And God bless you all. And let's continue to spread love. Amen. I don't know why I said amen, but there we go.